It's Don here from the board. Thanks for coming along and checking out this video. So today we're going to be having a look at the first ever pudding keycap set that I've actually ever had in my hands, even though these aren't going to stay with me for very long. Now, I'm going to state straight off the bat that this video is actually not sponsored at all, but the context here is that my brother recently bought a mechanical keyboard because there was a great deal on a particular board on Ozbargain. And now that he's been using it a little bit, he wanted to upgrade his keycaps and he asked me about pudding style keycaps. Well, my brother's been really great to me over the years and he's been getting me bits of technology here and there as well when he can, getting them either at discounts or even just straight up gifting them to me. And I felt that I wanted to do something in exchange for that. So I went and bought this set off Banggood, one of the two available sets of pudding keycaps. And I thought, you know what, I might as well make a review of it while I can. And then I'm going to send this off to him afterwards. So not sponsored, purchased by me. And of course, whether I like it or hate it, well, it doesn't matter because these are going to go to my brother who wanted some pudding keycaps. So hopefully they'll be decent. So let's have a look just at the listing anyway, so we can see what we should be expecting out of these, and then open them up and get them on top of board and turn on some lights and so on and so forth. So here's the listing. It's not that big a deal. Not that I'm trying to hide the price or anything from my brother, and he doesn't even watch my videos anyway for most part. So this is the white set because he asked for the white set, whereas the other set is a black top pudding. Now, if you don't know what I mean by pudding keycap, it means that the top of the keycap is opaque and then the bottom is translucent. So it allows your lighting effects and your RGBs to shine through it because it looks like your creme caramel type of pudding. So these are meant to be a full 108 key set. It's meant to be PBT. It does have kind of your classic sort of gamer font of sorts on it, but you know what? That's fine. Not really too much of an issue. And it should fit a pretty standard 108 layout keyboard, which he has. So shouldn't be too many surprises. We can just check it out and see how well it goes through. They don't talk about the thickness or anything like that of the keycap, but we'll have a look at it and the stems and so on and so forth. And interestingly, they use it on top, for example, here, the GammaKay, and we're going to be using a GammaKay as well to make that comparison. So let's get down onto the desktop on here. And so this is literally how they shipped it. Now, because this is Australian stock, they just stuck a shipping label, an Australia Post shipping label, and it came in the mail. So it took a couple of days, wasn't too much of an issue, COVID going on and everything else. Box was undamaged, but there's very little on it except for just a straight up SKU value here on the side. Very nondescript box. So hopefully what's inside here is going to be what we actually ordered. So there you go. It's very white, it's pristine. Some of these keycaps have obviously moved a bit. They've bounced around, but that's okay. So let's just pick this. It's the I key, and you can see that if the focus will come into play, there we go. You've got a translucent middle where the I is. You've got that translucent bottom half, but the opaque white on the top, and it's a fairly straightforward MX stem. Now they look very thin, and my assistant here has just given me my calipers, and we can see that they are less than 1 millimeter thick on that wall. Even thinner, 0.5 mil on the rear. On the other wall, it's nearly 1 millimeter, and then on the front wall, it is just on, if not under, 1 millimeter. So in terms of consistency, the actual rear, the straight back edge of that keycap is thinner. which is interesting. So let's just pick another random keycap and see how that looks. Let's just go with the F key. So these have the homing bars on them, so you can see that. Well, if the light will let me, because it's very bright against that. So there's a homing bar bump. The white is really struggling. Maybe if I turn down the intensity of the light, that might help. Okay, so you can maybe just see that there's a homing bar there. It doesn't have a dot, and it's not a deep dish compared to some other keycap sets that might actually use the deeper dish as opposed to dots or bars. So if we measure the sides again, we're looking at just under 1. The front is just under or on 1. The side is just under 1, and the rear is way under, about half again. So it may be a deliberate part of that design, because if the LEDs are on that side of the house, especially with underglow on the rear of the switch, that might allow it to let more light through. Maybe. It looks pretty standard. There's a 625U, though it does look quite thick on that one. So let's just check the thickness of the 625 spacebar. Yeah, that's on the back of the spacebar, it's definitely closer to 1, and on the front, we're actually 1 and a little bit. So you can definitely visually see that the spacebar thickness is definitely much higher there. Though, quality-wise, there is some sprue marks that you can see there on the back. So you probably want to just take something very sharp knife if you care about that, and carefully take them off. Hey, wait. What are you doing? So, straight off the bat, they look okay. This is meant to be OEM profile. I'm just checking the website again. And it says it's an OEM profile. So if we take that escape... Oh, the focus is struggling so hard because it's white. You can see there's a bit of sprue there as well. It is that very tall OEM profile. But you know what? My brother was happy to go with that OEM profile. Wasn't going to really say too much about it, since that's what he already has on his current board. Right, so let's just have a look at the bottom layer, because it is a multi-layered box. Pull that out, and there's your numpad. Even comes with the ISO enter. There's a couple of 1U replacements, as well as a 125 caps lock. And then there's some media keys up here as well. You got your print screen, scroll. So yeah, it looks like a fairly standard set. Should be good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut from this video, and what I've got here is the GammaKay K87. Which I've reviewed previously, and you can see it does not have pudding keycaps, and I will change these ones out to these pudding ones, and we can see what it looks like once it actually has the pudding keycaps on. But what I'll do now is I'll just plug this in. So it was very silly of me to just unplug it to do what I'm about to do. I'm just going to plug that back in, so we can see what it looks like just in general with the standard keycaps on, to get it in mind, and then of course you can compare it afterwards. Okay, so yes, Rainbow, can you turn the room lights off, please? Right, so you can see it's quite intense with that, but there's not a lot of light that's kind of bleeding through the keycaps there, because obviously they're not pudding style keycaps. So when you look at them side on, you still don't really get that diffusion except through the actual see-through parts. So keep that in mind. I'll cut from here and I'll swap them over, and then we'll come back and see what they look like with some pudding keycaps on. We'll be back very soon. All right, so we're back and almost ready to go. I just want to reiterate about the thickness of these keycaps because these are the stock GammaKay keycaps. You can see that there's no pudding effect on there if it'll get to a focal point. And just for comparison, the wall thickness here is about 1 mil, 1 mil. The rear is also sitting on that 1 mil, and the front is just a little bit under. So the consistency here on the stock GammaKay keycaps is not to have a rear side to be thinner, but that's where the SMD LEDs, the RGB LEDs, are actually at the back of the switch. So having that thinner wall helps diffuse that light possibly better. So now that that's all set on, we can see that you know, even with this really bright white light, you can see the different tone color here, and so it does have a slightly different look to it. But we'll plug this in right now, and my daughter is extremely excited to see rainbows again. And then we can turn off the lights and check out what it looks like with these keycaps. Okay, so obviously top down, it's not a huge difference because you're only seeing that top profile. But now, I mean, with the actual above light on, it's probably not super noticeable, and because it is actually reflecting off the whiteness of that. Whereas if I turn this off, it's crazy bright, and you can see that it's actually making the top white section almost look like it's black because there's just so much more light that's actually diffusing through and around it. If I tilt it up, you can see how much of that light is just pumping through the side of those keycaps, and you can see the pattern. And I think my daughter is about to hyperventilate because she's so excited about these rainbow colors that are coming through the keycap. Are you okay? Do you like it? They can't see you because it's so dark, so you'll have to speak up if you like it. Okay? What do you think about these? You don't have anything to say? Nothing to say? All right, well, you can stay quiet then. How do these sound? I honestly don't know. They're PBT. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up a notepad onto the desktop, and then I'll do a bit of typing, and we can get a sound indication out of these as well while my daughter enjoys the RGB-ness of these pudding keycaps. Okay, so that was just a really quick sample of these pudding keycaps. I think they actually do sound a bit better than the stock GammaKay keycaps. Not entirely sure what that might be. Obviously, there is a difference in material because, you know, you got ABS plastics potentially, I think. Maybe these are PBT, or maybe it's just the different composition of the material that is involved with these. In any case, look, this is a relatively quick and brief look at them. They're relatively cheap, what, 25 US plus a couple of cents shipping, nothing too fantastic. But if you want some fancy lights, well, this is what pudding looks like, which surely you've seen it before elsewhere, but this is the first time, and it may be the last time that you see pudding keycaps on this channel. In any case, I'm going to get these keycaps off this GammaKay board and back into the box, and then this box will end up going off to my brother, and he can enjoy them on his mechanical keyboard at home. So thanks very much for coming along and checking out this video. You know the drill. Like, subscribe, bell notification button, all of it helps. And of course, as usual, until next time, I can't hear you. You got to be loud enough that this bar moves down here.
Happy Jackie.
All right, a little bit better. All right, until next time, happy clacking.